Karen Katha with CNN. She's in D.C. And she's on the ground. Karen, what can you tell us?
House are watching this situation unfold, and they are equally as dumbstruck as the rest of us at what is going on the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue. Most of the supporters of President Trump, the protesters who have breached the Capitol complex, were here by the White House and listened to a 75-minute speech by President Trump earlier this afternoon, in which he suggested he may join them as they took their protest to the Capitol. He, of course, did not return to the White House. Those supporters of his went on, and we are just seeing unprecedented scenes from the U.S. Capitol. We have seen an armed standoff at the House chamber. We have seen a protester breaching the Senate floor and standing on that dais that we are used to seeing the Senate leadership stand on. And it has just been a stunning and really heartbreaking turn of events for any of us in and around Washington, and honestly for the United States. Lawmakers are being told to shelter in place. Anyone on the House floor was escorted off. They have been given gas masks. So certainly a very tense, very dire situation at the U.S. Capitol, Jennifer.
Karen, do we have any idea where the president is? Our last known tweet from him was to ask people to peacefully protest, which seems a little bit disingenuous right about now.
Yeah, well, the president did return to the White House after he delivered that long speech, and those who are on the ground at the White House have not seen the typical Marine that stands outside the Oval Office, which would indicate that he is somewhere else within the White House complex. But he issued one tweet saying to support the U.S. Capitol Police to stay peaceful, but beyond that, we have not heard from the president in a verbal form in terms of addressing his supporters. We do understand that the White House will have some sort of statement coming shortly, but beyond that, we have not heard from the president himself, who seems to be the only person who could calm these protesters as they have made their way inside the Capitol complex.
What about the vice president, Karen? Because we know he was inside the building. He had the unfortunate task of certifying the Electoral College votes. It was going to be a very difficult moment for him. That was the anticipation, because basically it was a ceremonial role where, you know, like at the Academy Awards, you just open the envelope. He had no ability to change what was inside the envelope, which basically said Joe Biden is going to be the next president of the United States. He took a hit from Donald Trump earlier today, both during the rally and on Twitter. Perhaps Donald Trump's most loyal soldier for the last 4 years, thrown under the bus today. Where is the vice president right now, and have we heard from him?
Well, they got about through an hour and a half or so of their proceedings on Capitol Hill before this really started to unfold. And Vice President Pence has been evacuated from the Capitol. President Trump was putting tremendous pressure on Vice President Pence to do something different than what the Constitution and the law prescribed. And just shortly before he headed over to the Capitol, the Vice President issued a statement that said he was going to go by the letter of the law, that it was not within his authority, as granted by the Constitution and the oath that he took, to do anything different than count those votes and join with Congress to certify that electoral vote tally. That seems to have further antagonized those Trump supporters as they made their way to the Capitol, knowing that he would be inside and part of that process. So certainly something that President Trump should be concerned about, although he was putting so much pressure on him, had so much vitriol for him on Twitter in terms of not acting with courage when Vice President Pence was merely doing what the Constitution and federal law prescribed in this process, Jennifer.
Right, but even the vice president, as recently as Monday, Karen, was telling people at his own rally that, you know, on Wednesday we're going to have our say. So he also continued to fan the flames.
Yeah, he did. And this was in his statement as well, in which he expressed that, yes, he sees the way that millions of Americans do, that maybe there were voting irregularities in this November election. But he also said that he had a job to do. Vice President Pence is somebody we know has further aspirations when it comes to politics, perhaps making a presidential bid of his own in 2024. So he does have a fine line to walk here, but I don't think he even could have imagined that he would be seeing the scenes that are unfolding right outside the U.S. Capitol right now. He himself, a former member of the House of Representatives, this is certainly something that, even by the standards of this chaotic Trump presidency, is certainly unprecedented, Jennifer.
Yeah. Karen, are you hearing from your sources there? Is there anyone sort of taking over this protest in terms of leading them. I know Proud Boys were in the Capitol for a little while, but is there any sort of one concerted effort to rally all of these supporters, or are there just people sort of milling about? You know, as we look at some of the pictures, we see people standing on the steps of Capitol Hill, but no one's speaking. Sometimes there's chants of USA, sometimes there's pro-Trump chants, but no one's, you know, giving speeches or exhorting the crowd to go any further than they are.
Yeah, right. Not at this time. There was a rally that took place last night. And again, those remarks that President Trump delivered earlier this afternoon were part of a more organized program that did feature speakers. But this was the plan, to make that move down towards the Capitol around the time that this process would be beginning inside of the Capitol. There have been a number of groups that have been encouraging President Trump's supporters to come to the Capitol on January 6th. Again, this is a date that typically goes unnoticed by most Americans. This is something that is largely ceremonial, where Congress comes together in a joint session and really takes the final step towards signing off on the next president of the United States, because Inauguration Day is just 2 weeks from today. This is largely seen as a ceremonial affair, but allies of the president, those on the right, really saw this as an opportunity to seize some attention, and it has gotten just absolutely extreme. The photos tell the story. We know the U.S. Capitol Police has asked for additional law enforcement help both locally and from a federal standpoint. So this is something that, even though these groups had this on their calendar, I don't think anyone really anticipated that we would be seeing the images that we are seeing right now.
They are unbelievable. And again, we're efforting to get some of the images from inside the chamber, where protesters were able to breach inside and take selfies, as it were. And we also saw, you know, pictures of security guards trying to keep people out with their weapons drawn. Karen Caifa with CNN, I do appreciate your reporting. Thank you very much.